All right, truth be told, this video is really late. I waffled back and forth about even putting it up or just moving it to the future. Time travel! But I decided that I really wanted it done. And since I had such a rough October, I decided I should try a little harder to get all the videos up to date for November that I possibly could. There might be one or two that don't come through, though, because it would just be silly. I don't know. No, we'll see. Anyway, so, for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Aradia Noir. I'm the resident witch and creatrix over to Aradia's Hand and Danae's Divine, where I create myth, magic, and meaning for your everyday life through art, intuition, and energy work. And today, well, the video that I'm recording right now, which is actually for the 9th of November, is one of my potluck posts. Now, normally, that means that it would be at my $5 and above tier on Patreon. But for all of October and all of November, I decided that I would make all of the posts public and just do a little weird social experiment, see how that went. So, lucky you, this post is actually public, so everybody will get to see it. So, yay! And a little shout out to the wonderful Amber Bryce for this. There is going to be it's on backwards. Yeah, it's on backwards. There's going to be a little video about this. I actually already recorded it, but you can see this shiny prettiness right here. And I think this is going to figure into what we're going to talk about tonight, this evening, right now. So, I've actually had this video on my list for a while, and this is me going through my sacred creation process. So, now for those of you who don't know me or have not engaged with me a lot, I am very over the top. I am very loud and out there and detail oriented and ritualistic and everything like that. And what I found is the less I try to do, actually the less successful I am at doing anything, which is kind of funny and sounds counterintuitive, because the more over the top I am, the more loud, out there, brilliant, bright, whoa I am, while it does in fact take longer because there's more to do, those projects seem to turn out a lot better. So I'm just trying to embrace that and just be okay with it and let things take the time they take, which is one of those things I say a lot. So, with that in mind, I wanted to share what I go through when I sit down to make things. Now, to be transparent about it, when I'm doing something for myself, I skip a lot of these steps. When I am testing something for the first time, something that's probably going to be imperfect, probably never going to see the light of day, if you will, I don't worry about these things. But when I sit down to make something for someone, or make something that has the expressed intention of being sold, this is part of the process that I like to go through. Now, what I will say is, for those of you who are easily overwhelmed, this process has developed over many a year. Some of this I didn't used to do at all, any of it, period. As I went along, little bits started happening. And now, the iteration that I will be sharing with you today is actually a slightly more brief version of what I actually do, because there's some very practice-specific elements to what I do that may not apply to you. So I've left everything in there that you can kind of fill in the blank, if you would like. And that way you can make the practice your own, and you can use that as it applies to you. Because I'm not really huge into formulas. I do like step-by-step and a logical progression, personally, when I sit down to do anything. But that is still something that I've developed for my work. But as a way to give you kind of a peek into how I work, maybe give you some ideas, or just let you know what's going on, here I am. So, this is one of my biz Introscopes, is what I call them, and that title, or that hashtag, is from when I used to be on Periscope, which I'm not anymore. But the scope stuck. Usually I've switched most of things over to cast, like podcasts, so like the Stash Cast and the Lunar Cast and the Sabbath Cast. But like Scope for some things like works better, so just gonna leave it. All right. So when I talk about my Introscopes, there are usually little parts of my business that are very unique to how I do things. It's parts of my process that I don't necessarily share publicly or like go into detail with on social media. And sometimes you'll get little snippets, little tidbits. I'll mention something, or I'll take a candid shot of me in the middle of working. But a lot of times it's just little bits like that, and that's it. Now, if you would like to see another one of these, I have one where, if I recall correctly, and I'll link it below, if I can find it, I went through the packaging of something, which is, I've got like a whole freaking system about that. So let's go to my links and make a note so I don't forget. Let's see. Okay, yeah. And for those who don't know, and I guess I should probably go through this like another video, but this is just how my videos are, right? I forget things, I remember things, I meander, I get lost, I remember things out of order, and I just go with it. Actually, what stopped me from doing videos for a long time is I do like things that are polished. I do things that look nice and are extremely put together and are just, you know, really nice and neat. That's also just not reflective of my life or how I work or how I function. And that actually induces a level of stress that I don't want in my work at all. The amount of editing and altering and everything would just be to the point where I would probably never be satisfied with it. So instead of worrying about that, I just decided that we're going to go with reality. Reality's good. Yay. And when I do these videos, you get the fullness of my personage. So the just odd little quirks and bits and and distractions and everything are all included. I don't cut anything out. I curse like a sailor. If you don't like that, I suggest you go away. I'm not going to alter my language to suit anybody, because I'm not. And yeah, but my whole purpose in these videos and them being like this and being raw and uncut, if you will, is I want you to see what it's like to be around me, to hang out with the artists, to see what it's like, because that's the whole purpose. You know, it's really easy to look at these lifestyle brands and these finished videos that are nice and neat and shiny and well put together, and the makeup is great and the lighting is great and everything is pristine. It's really easy to look at those things and think that you have to perform at that level, or that's what it means to be successful, or that if you can't perform at that level, then you can't do it. And that's hogwash and poppycock. I show up how I can. I do aim to be better. So like, you know, I took the time to put my hair up, right? Or I'll put a hat on if I'm not feeling it. You know, eventually you might see me in makeup, but not at this time of night. It's like, really? I don't usually wear makeup, and I certainly don't put makeup on to go and make art. Like, look, if you do, and that's your shtick, power to you, not me. And so there's no shame, there's no shade, and however you got to do it, whatever makes you feel ready or helps you feel connected or whatever, that's great. Fucking do that. I'm gonna do me. I think it's fair. Let's just tuck this back here. That's the earbud that doesn't work. It's always my right one that breaks. What that's about. I feel like it's my electronics trying to tell me something. Maybe they're just yelling at me. Stop. I have lots of terrible habits with my electronics. It's you know when Skynet happens, I'm gonna be like the first to die, because the machines are gonna rise up. They're gonna remember what I asked of them, and they're gonna be like, you need to go. Oh, such a nerd. So, okay. Yeah, but I like to give these sneak peeks, because as an artist, as a creative person, as a curious human, I like to see the other side. I like to see the messy, the before. I love home improvement shows and shit like that. I like cooking shows. I like to see disparate objects and messy befores turn into something super cool, because it's really easy to look at a finished product and a finished process and it looks like magic. And really, you know, to be fair, it is. It is. There's a degree of alchemy, right, and or magic involved in the transformation of individual bits, right? Generally, in my work, to include gestures, usually repetitive gestures like this, and then turning that into something artistic. I like to see the magic in everything. Because the world would be so much more boring and so much more unpleasant if we just saw and only saw the mundanity of it all. So, yeah. But I like to share. I'm an oversharer too. I am explicit. But that's why I am so lovely. Because I don't edit things out. And it's not to say that you shouldn't. There's probably some things you should leave off the table, friend. But, you know, if you're cool with it, you're cool with it. Go with it. Woo! So, without further ado, my sacred creation process. And just for those of you who are curious, I am going to take a screenshot of what it looks like. Put that in there, because I'll forget. So that if you want a picture of it, because I like pictures. Pictures are yay. It's going to be black and white. It's literally going to be a screenshot of the document. So it's not going to be what one would call fancy. So picture. So there'll be that. But I'm also going to just walk you through the process here. And if I can... Wait a minute. What's the word? I can't think of the word I want to use. I think it starts with an R. I'm going to use one that starts with an M, though, because that's the one I can think of. I can think of another one that starts with R. It's not the one I want. But if I can marshal myself up, rouse, gosh, it's gonna kill me because I can't think of what the damn word is. You'll get to see like a picture of what it looks like set up. Insofar that you can, right? Because a lot of these are actions. So, obviously. And we're just gonna walk through them. We'll see though. And I was typing and I was making a note to myself, and I decided it was really important for me to completely forget what I was doing. That happens a lot. Yeah. So this is, like I said, this is a general rundown for creation. I use this for writing, and I also use this for just art making. So, like this. This actually is a swatch that was reverse engineered from a pattern that desperately needs to be turned into a written pattern. Procrastination. This is lovely peach color. I don't like peach at all, actually. I hate peach. Don't ask me why I have this color in my house. But it's a light color, so, and it's cotton, so it shows up really well. And actually, this is the back. It's the wrong side. This is the right side, so you can see that that's indented in the middle. It looks really cool, though. It's like a little weird saguaro cactus in the middle. Like, help me! Yeah, okay. Weirdo. But, so what brought this to mind, actually, is I'm in a couple of magic groups, and one of them is run by a colleague of mine who I shall remain nameless, but you know who you are. You know who you are. And I'm probably going to post this video in the thing so people can experience how fucking weird I am. a camera. Because why not? Why not assail people with this? You nut. Anyway, props to you. Thanks for having this space. Thanks for allowing me to be part of it and inviting myself and other people to share. Props to my other friend who I will also allow to have an anemone. That's what we're going to call it. That's not the word. That's the one I can say right now. Deal with it. I'm going to send the video to them too because they actually encouraged me. They're like, you know, you should like put your name on this and like take credit. And the way I think about it is, I know what I did. I don't need to take credit for things. I understand the importance of acknowledging the work that you do, though, especially as a Black, Indigenous person of color. A lot of times people are just erased and your work gets built upon by somebody else, and so then they get credit for it, and it's like you didn't do anything. And then years later, somebody in some dusty old tome digs you up and like, oh, so-and-so did this first. And it's like, oh, really? I didn't know that. And it's like, it's because that's how history gets written, friends. So yeah, that's a thing. So in deference to that and acknowledging that as a marginalized person, it is important to, you know, have a voice and be represented. And also not just, you know, for myself and my own like peace of mind, but really for other people so that they can see, yeah, you can speak up. You can do great and amazing things and you can share them and you can be, you know, acknowledged for them, and you should be if you want to, unless you don't want to, or it makes you weird or uncomfortable. Which is not just if you don't want, if you want to be behind the curtain, right? Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. It's all good, friend. But, you know, do you in whatever way it feels comfortable, but don't feel that you can't be yourself because you don't see somebody else doing it, right? Yeah, that's what we want to do. So, which is why I sanitize some of this, but colleague from group who made the group, somebody asked about basically art making and creation and intertwining magical practice into it. And they answered, and their answer was wonderful and lovely and very well written, and actually reminded me and gave me some ideas that I have not incorporated yet, but I'm going to be meditating, contemplating, mulling on how to add them in, because they and I work very differently as far as our practices. And because of my ADD and my scatterbrainedness in general and the dissociation and me just getting lost and varying energy levels for completely different reasons, certain things don't work. And so theirs was very magic plus day oriented. So an example of that, if you were going to do something that was for romance or love or things to deal with a deity that's their domain, also sex, fertility, something like that, Venus's day or Friday would be a great day to do that. Now, I don't necessarily look at my work in terms of those specific areas, right? So I might interpret some of those different, like if I want something to really blossom and kind of come to bear and grow, I might choose Thursday, which is the day of Jupiter, or Friday, right? Or Sunday for success, right? For the sun. So, you know, you can kind of work with it, however, but they have some very interesting points. Mine, however, has absolutely nothing to do with any of that. So you can use this when the fuck ever, basically. And the whole purpose was, I like things that are multi-use. I like parameters, but I don't like restrictions. It's part of that dichotomy that I exist within. And it confuses a lot of people because they're like, well, you like this, so you should like this. And I'm like, no, well, I don't like that. Which is always funny. I have a personal profile somewhere, and one of the one of the parts of it is I talk about I deal in dichotomy, and it's also kind of like an ejection seat. It filters out people who probably cannot handle my mode of communication, because what I have to say about myself probably doesn't make any damn sense. which is great. If it doesn't make any sense to you, I don't want to talk to you or be your friend or whatever. Yay. So there's that. I'm just all over the place right now. It's super fun. Walnuts. Crackers. Why is there not a space there? Just put a space there. 2 spaces. I'm a 2 space behind after my periods kind of person. Thank you very much. I also like my Oxford comma. And if you don't like it, you can go die in a fire. Okay? It's not very nice. I don't care. I love it. I'll even use it after an ampersand or an and or but or like all kinds of things. So deal with it. I'm irreverent, by the way. Like a lot. Which, given my patron deities, one of them in particular, not a surprise. We can talk about that maybe in the future, because that's fun. That whole story is like, what? Yeah. It's one of those, it's funny how shit works out. So, the whole, and I'm making sure these notes are up to date. The whole purpose of this process, I know, why haven't I started talking about it yet? Just, go with it, okay? This is how I roll, and if you don't like it, don't watch. But the whole purpose of this is, like, I need to be able to do this process whenever. However, and if I have too many parameters in place, to the point where it's restricting, then it makes it hard to do. And then this is the full version. I'm actually working on kind of a shorter version for low energy days, because that's another thing I think people don't consider, is that sometimes you do not have the spoons to go all out. And that is me on a pretty regular basis, actually. And the problem with that is when what you do takes a long time, and then the prep work takes a long time. By the time you're done with the prep, you easily just won't actually do anything. And that's one of the reasons why I kind of leave this practice specifically for my work. If I'm just kind of dicking around making something or experimenting, or it's something that doesn't have to, I don't feel it has to be so ritualized, I'll skip all of it, honestly. And sometimes I'll start it. I'll say, okay, this is how far I can get with this, and then I go with it. And if I'm on a tight timetable, I will, edit things out. So play with it, right? Use it in a way that works for you. Take the parts that work, leave what doesn't. Understand why all the parts are there, and as I go through that, I'll explain that. But I'm not such a traditionalist that you can't, think outside the box. I'm very, very much so outside the box, and like do things in a way that works for you. So, and if you want a more succinct version of this, stop watching this video, scroll down to the post, fucking read it. I should have said that earlier. I need to start remembering to say that at the beginning of my videos, because they're always longer than I think they're going to be, because it's the only optimism I contain is optimism bias. The only one. So the cool thing about this, like I said, no special timing needed. You don't have to wait for the moon to be in a certain phase or in a certain sign. You don't have to work for a certain day. You can just apply this, and you can certainly put this with those things, right? So the cool thing is it doesn't depend upon them, but it still works with them, which is really nice. I do suggest that, like, when it comes down to the specific prayers or some of the more specific practices, or I've like left it kind of to your imagination, inject what works for you based on your practice, right? I'm all about experimenting and trying what works, but I'm also all about following, that bone knowing, as a mentor calls it, the things that really call to you and really pull you, do those things, versus doing something by rote, which can just kind of takes all the magic out of it. And really the whole purpose of this ritual is to get me from just sitting here doing nothing to being in the headspace that I need to be in to create. And so it is a really long transition ritual, essentially. And if you would like to experience this process through my work firsthand, you can visit my website. It's linked in the post below, aradiashand.com. And there you go. So, now that we're like 25 minutes into the damn video, I might put a little note on the version of this on YouTube and be like, look, if you want to, start, you should start at the 25-minute and 35-second mark, right? Or something like whatever the hell it was. We're just gonna go with that. We're gonna go with the 25-minute mark. That's like less time, less figuring, I guess. Maybe I'll look it up. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know. So, first things first, we like to prep our space. And and another thing about this, a lot of these practices are really practical. I'm a very pragmatic person. I do love my symbolism and, energy work and meaning and metaphysics, but a lot of that, as a root worker, a lot of the stuff that we do is very practical. It's very kitchen witch. It's very, hodgepodge together with what you got and using what's there and paying attention to what's there. And that's important, because, why not live your, walnuts. Why not live your magic, right? Why do you have to separate things so much? And I feel like embodying it, it makes it easier to do, for one. And it kind of solidifies the practice, like, further for you. So, first thing we do is we prep the physical space. Now, the thing with this is if you don't have everything you need, if you don't have actual physical space, because it's cluttered or it's too tight or it's like claustrophobic, that's really going to impair your ability to actively create. You physically will not be able to move around well, right? And I know that when I'm feeling closed in by stuff because I've just decided to try and ignore the clutter and like think that it's not there, that doesn't work. Oh God, this is gonna bother the living bejesus out of me. This is totally backwards. So we're gonna fix that. But like, I know what my limitations are and what I can and cannot do. What I can and cannot do, one of them is opening a clasp that I can't see. That's a can't. Anyway, just listen. So, that means clearing off your dust. That also means, hey, maybe removing some stuff that shouldn't be around. So, I try not to have food or drinks around when I'm working. All right. It's just a better idea not to, because that is that's a recipe for, hey, let's spill something, and the last thing you want to do, haha, got it. The last thing you want to do, right? When you are creating, set your project down and then spill something on it. That's the worst. And like, if it's something like a piece of jewelry, you can like rinse that off and all that. It's all well and good and nice and everything. But, if it's yarn or like wood, not as easy to do. Ha! Success! I'm sorry. I had to do that. It was bothering the bejesus out of me. And there we go. Magic sauce. And we'll do this so that these are there. Here we go. Okay, look. I'm a weirdo and I had to fix it. It was going to bother me if I didn't deal with it. It's weird because now it's like on the other side and it's like freaking me out. Yeah, it's on the other side. It's weird. It's over there. It's weird. It's over there. It's okay. It's fine. It's because I'm looking at myself. It's just whatever. But, And for me, that usually, and I also have a glass desk, so like having my space clear is really important. This also means like taking into consideration, like, do you work somewhere where there's like cigarette smoke, or there's dog hair, or there's like crumbs or whatever? Like, maybe don't work there, right? Or maybe have like a work surface set up so you can keep that stuff away from your work, especially if you're gonna go and sell this or give it to somebody else. Very important things to consider. So, before I do any kind of energetic clearing, and let's make this go away because I don't want it to pop up. I was watching Netflix. There we go. Oh my gosh. Energetic cleansing. Okay. Before you do that, I firmly believe that you should physically clean before you energetically clean. Because why are you going to cleanse a dust bunny, friend? I mean, really, don't do that. Escort them out first. This is easier. I also have this like weird thought that dust and dirt attracts like not great energies, right? You don't have to agree with me. I don't care if you do. That's how I feel about it. So you just take the time to tidy up, which would mean all of the physical things. Now, that is specifically your space. Okay. The next thing I like to do with my space is then we go ahead and physically clear the space. Now, part of why I am so big into cleansing is that I'm a chaos witch, among other things, and I'm really busy-minded, and my energy is very frenetic, and it's like just a natural sense of things. And as a result of that, I feel like I kind of like accumulate energetic debris like a lot. I don't mean to, it just happens. And so I usually take time to kind of clear things out. And I don't make a big to-do about it, right? Light a candle, do some Reiki, light some incense, visualize. Any one of those four, that's good enough, right? It doesn't have to be this whole entire huge thing. Especially because when I'm talking in this context, I'm talking about the immediate space that you're in. So I don't have to cleanse my whole house to do this. I just need to focus on the space that I'm occupying. You can also use other methods of cleansing, ringing a tuning fork or a singing bowl or a bell. And I usually do that also. Those are really popular ways to kind of start the work. Like, okay, this is the beginning. Here's your tone. This is your audible sign that you're starting, right? Do the cleansing. And then if you want to, you know, take the extra step, you can make a space that is sacred, which is slightly different from clearing. So if you think of clearing is A, uplifting or creating sacred space is B, right? And then you can also do these things like all at once. So if you want to be super traditionalist and you know, go with what other people say or suggest, rose and frankincense are both really good for clearing and uplifting simultaneously. But anything that does that for you works. You know, you could turn on the lights and open a window. It works too, right? Now we move on to the whole personal aspect of it. Okay, so we've addressed our space. We've addressed the energy of the space. Now it's your turn, homie. So this is a time where if for some reason you're dirty or you're greedy or you're greasy or you're sweaty or whatever, yeah, go take a shower, okay? Wash your hands. Put clean clothes on. You know, if you have a uniform or like a whole getup that you like to wear when you work, put it on. Do a talisman check, which might be rings or jewelry or special articles of clothing or accessories that you have that kind of help you key into this whole process. And then I like to do the incense and the grounding, centering, and, you know, Reiki and breath work. And that's all basically the personal cleansing. So we've got the physical cleaning, then we got the personal, the energetic aspect of it. And then I also like, you know, make a really clear statement about, you know, what the purpose, your intention is for clearing, like, you know, clearing any blocks to beginning the work, right? Like if you're starting a project, or if you're in the middle of a project, clearing any blocks towards, you know, a smooth, easy process, right? Or clearing any blocks to finishing this quickly, easily, and, you know, on the first go, right? Whatever you have to do. Then we like to set up our space. So as you can see, these things kind of build on each other. And I go through levels and layers because I like cake. Not onions, cake. And this is where we got to do the check. If you choose tools and materials. Me, I also have an artist's notebook, which I would show you if it was not buried under something right now, because I haven't actually used it in a while. I've been stuck in that damn sweater land for like so long that I like literally set my art notebook aside. Or your bujo, or wherever you keep your notes, right? I do like to have a beverage. I try to go with water or something that is not sticky, or if I do insist on drinking something like juice or, you know, anything else, something, it's got a lid, right? I'm a big tea lover, so I have a bunch of tumblers that are not like, there's no open space, you have to like close and open it. And then depending on my mood, I might have music on. When I'm doing really mundane stuff that doesn't require me to like high level thinking, I'll do a lot of Netflix. When I'm doing something that I need to focus on, I err towards not watching a show or a movie, because personally I find it's easier for me to kind of lose track and get distracted, whereas music, I can turn it down. So it's low enough to not be super distracting for me. And if you can't deal with music, don't play it, right? If hearing lyrics will make you want to sing along and stop what you're doing, go with something instrumental. If you can't deal with that, you can try ambient noise. There are a bunch of apps that have white noise and like sounds like coffee shops. Actually, a really awesome one is what the hell are they called? I don't know what they're called. There's a word. Oh, it's ASMR. They have a couple that are Harry Potter based that are the best. The best. I will find the channel that I like to listen to and put it in here. So if you want to be a super nerd with me, do it. And then I have a white noise app that I like. It's called Relaxio, so relax and IO at the end. And I will, I'll like find a link or something, or picture or something, so you can like see what it is. Maybe I'll take a screenshot off my phone. I don't know. Whatever I need to do for you to understand what I'm talking about. But we do that. And then I take a moment to bless my tools and materials. And usually at this point, you know, if you go with a longer stick, if you want to be the frugal thing about this, you can either use sound or light or visualization for any of this. But whatever you're using, I would suggest just using the same clearing process like over and over again, if you can manage. That way you don't have to light a candle and light incense and then visualize and do Reiki and do this and do that. You can just do like one thing and done. Or if you feel called to and you feel it's necessary to have options, well then fucking do that. Just understand that you are going to be adding time onto your process enough that remember, we haven't started making anything yet. And after that, I like to do a little prayer invocation. Now, as far as this is one of the places where I have something very specific that I do. By the way, we're almost done, okay? We're almost done. I have a very specific set of prayers and mantras and everything that I use that are targeted and specifically to the kind of practice that I have, the kind of work that I do. So this needs to be something that resonates with you and that works with you and how you work. But it can be formal, it can be not. You can choose a mantra or a prayer. You could pray to, you know, a saint who presides over the arts or the specific arts that you're doing. Google patron saint of and whatever you're doing, and you'll find something. I can't think of who the general, like there's a general patron saint of the arts. You could also address the deity, right? Every culture has some deity that presides over like art creation, making things. And then a lot of them do have ones that are specific or tangentially related to things. So ones that I can think of off the top of my head is if you're doing any kind of fiber arts, Athena is a big one. Also the Fates, the Moirai, or the Norns from Norse mythology are another good one. Brigid is creativity in general. Athena also is handicrafts. Apollo is also associated with creativity. The Muses themselves, there are 9 of them. Most of them are dedicated to writing, singing, and dancing, so you can just address them in general, unless you're writing, right? If you're writing, then she's the one that matches the writing that you have, that you're working on, if there is one that matches. I'm really familiar with the Greek ones, as you can see, but I know Thoth from Egyptian mythology is a god of writing and lettering, so if you're a writer, he'd be a great one to talk to. Or Odin, because the Allfather is also, you know, presides over like language, among other things. So there's that. You can also just like address your personal muse as well. And when I say formal or informal, just have a conversation. It just doesn't have to be this real stoic, staunch, sterile kind of thing. Whenever I talk to the spirits that I deal with, I very much so, we're having conversations with them, because this is how I communicate. Why should I suddenly alter it? No. I actually got into a fight with somebody over that, by the way. That was hilarious. Somebody wanted to fight with me because they insisted that I had to change my mode of communication to suit them. You can imagine how that conversation went. That was a hard no for me, and I made it really clear that I had no intention of doing that. And I was just going to leave it at that. And they wanted to argue with me, which I'm still trying to wrap my head around, because I'm like, really? You're silly. And you're ridiculous. Go put your privilege down and go sit down, okay? Because that's exactly what that was, which is why I find it funny and I'm not offended, because people are just ridiculous, okay? Purpose of communication is to exchange and dole out ideas and thoughts and feelings and receive them. That's what communication is for. It's not for you to cater to anybody. And I don't mean, you know, hey, maybe not say fuck so much around little tiny ears, but hey, fuck it. Do you, right? It lets people self-select out of your company a lot easier. So there's that. But, you know, whatever you got to do. I have, especially when you're having a tough time or you can't find the words or you're stressed out, just being able to just talk really is, I find a lot more cathartic and a lot easier on people than trying to like be formal about it and word it the right way. Because what the fuck is the right way? What is that? I think you're making stuff up, okay? So let's just don't put that pressure on yourself, because you need to be using that energy to make stuff, okay? You don't need to like stress yourself out to the point where you kill your creativity. That's bad. So now that we've done all this shit, hey, guess what? Do the fucking work. We're done. Okay, not really. But that you do the work. And you do the work for as long as you can, as long as you want to, as long as it needs to be done, you know, whatever. And then at the end, because this is really important, when you open the door, you got to close it, right? It's a really good idea. You've invited everybody, you've addressed everybody. Say thank you. Acknowledge the support that you received. You know, extinguish any candles or incense you've got going on, if that's your thing. Some people like to let their candles burn down, and depending on the size of your candle and how much incense you got left and your budget, hey, do what you gotta do. If I'm using a larger candle, I will light it, extinguish, light it, extinguish, light it, extinguish, because it's supposed to be active when I'm using it, and I'm not worried about it when I'm not using it actively, right? But like incense, I tend to let burn out because, yeah, I'm not stingy with my incense, and I love the fuck out of some incense. I do. In general, not all scents. There's a bunch I can't stand. So after we're done with that, now you got to take down the space. So you put your project away, okay? Remove any, if what you're wearing is something specific to the work that you're doing, remove it. But also use the discretion of your personal practice, right? Some practices are such that when something is special, you only bring it out for that period of time and that process and whatever you're doing, right? For others, you always use it, right? And so that is at your discretion. You got to decide. Like this, for example, because I paid a shiny penny for this and I don't want to break it. This will be on when I'm working. It will come off when I'm not working because I don't want to smash it. And yeah, I want to keep it nice and neat and pristine. And then I don't want to have to like be super tired and then like, oh my god, forget I had it on, and then like I'm laying in bed and like snap the chain, because as much as I'm totally capable of like fixing something, I'd rather not have to, right? Let's not break stuff. That's why you don't have nice things, okay? And then you need to physically clean up the area. Now let me tell you, whenever I'm working, there's shit everywhere. Got yarn here, needles there, scissors there, stitch markers here, notes there, fucking pencil, pen, constantly losing my writing utensil because I keep moving things. I've got my tablet or my phone so I can have my countdown or my app thingy where I used to record the amount of time that I work on a project. I've got that thing going. You know, I might have like a pattern like printed out that I'm looking at, or my project sheets, or all kinds of stuff. So I spread out and it takes up space. And that's just if I'm doing fiber art. If we're talking about jewelry, oh jeez, this is even worse, right? Because I like to be able to see the stuff that I'm working on, especially if I'm just working on something from scratch and I'm following the call of the muse, if you will. That means that I need everything out. Or like if I'm doing some mixed media stuff, that'll happen a lot. Which is a giant pain in the butt. And I will be honest, I am absolutely horrendous about that. I've got this project right here. This is an experiment right here. This is sitting here. I've got this behind my phone. It's working as a prop. I have got photography stuff over there. I've got fiber art over there. I have an entire cart full of projects that are like, why aren't you working on me? And I'm like, shh, I'm getting to it. So yeah, I'm really busy-minded. Really busy-minded. So there's that. And, but I do highly encourage you to put shit away, because it's so much easier to find things when you put it away. I actually waste a lot of time basically putting out fires. But shit, where did I put this? Shit, where is it? Shit, I forgot it. Shit. So yeah, like that's a thing. Frog face. Reminds me of that weird grumpy frog that's like going around on the internet. It's so cute. It's like Grumpy Cat if it was a frog, but instead of looking angry, it looks sad. I will link to that frog in this video below. That thing is so cute and sad. It's precious. That's why he's so cute, because he's so sad. He looks like he's just, this isn't what I ordered. Like, look at you poor little frog guy. I'm a weirdo. I know. It's fine. It's fine. So, walnuts. Okay. Now, this is just general project work. When we get to the point where we're done with the project, 2 extra steps. Clear and bless. Right? Again, that's at your discretion. Some people are really against like over cleansing things. I can understand that. Again, frenetic. Better safe than sorry. Because I never believe that I'm clearing so much that I'm removing the energy of the thing. Because that's never like the intention that I'm setting out or the energy that I'm putting out there. My focus is on, hey, I don't know what happened to this before it got to me, right? These materials, these tools, whatever. And things, inanimate objects tend to accumulate energy, like that they're just stewing in, basically. So I prefer better safe than sorry. And then blessing. And blessing is not to be confused with charging. Charging is not something that I do. And that's because I've used specific materials with a specific intention. Okay? I don't need to charge it. Because the charge, if you will, is already held by the symbols that are being used. You know, regardless of what you see out of what I've created, I picked the colors or the design elements or, you know, the other symbols that are in it intentionally. And those things operate on their own without like additional push, right? They just do that because it's their job. And you will be drawn to my work or somebody else's work because of how it makes you feel, right? And what you get out of it. And so, hey, that's cool. Whatever works. So, if you want, again, a very succinct, holy shit, less involved version of this, scroll down to the description box below. You can read through all of it. You'll also see a picture of a screenshot of the process if you would like to see that. If I can figure out a way on Patreon, I can't do this somewhere else. I can figure out a way on Patreon to make it so you could like download something, then I'll do that. If not, I will link you to the Evernote note. And then you can just, it's a link and you can just open it and you can copy and paste it and like do whatever. Yay! The one thing I do ask of you is acknowledge where you got this, right? You didn't come up with the shit by yourself. Don't say you did. And if you want to share it, share the original. Do not share the version that you doctored. Because there's a reason I didn't share the whole personal thing with you. And that's because I want you to make this your own. And you should afford other people the same, like, ability to do so. Also, you'll see a link to my packaging post, which I think was originally patrons only. If it was, I will change it retroactively so that everybody can see it. You'll also see the link to the Harry Potter ASMR. It's like when I put extra letters in there. Channel and the White Noise app if I can like find some way to link it. So my question for you is, do you have special ways of doing things? If so, what? Why? You can drop it in the comments below. Remember, as always, if you enjoyed this video, please join me on YouTube. Subscribe, come over to Patreon, become a patron. Woo. Heads up on the Patreon note, I think in December, I'm going to be making some changes. I think I've decided what they are now. Because the season's going to change in December, so it's for me, it's going to be a new quarter. And that's a good time to change things. But I'm not super sold on that because as far as like active changes, winter is not it's not the time to do that. Winter is a better time to reflect on things. And while I know it is not winter everywhere on the planet, it's winter for me coming up. So that's the mindset that I'm personally in. But we'll see. You can find all of my work below, all of my active social media. Everything is linked there. And thank you for joining me. I thank you for being a patron, for checking this out on YouTube, for sharing it, for liking it, for commenting. You're awesome. And you encouraging me and being in my world and appreciating what I do is part of what makes me able to continue to do this stuff, because it matters. It matters to be appreciated. And this is probably the longest video I've made. It is full of what? At the beginning. So if you watch this whole thing, get crisp high five, right? I watch too many movies, friend. And I will see you tomorrow. What's tomorrow? What's our thing tomorrow? I don't know. Let's see. Oh my gosh. Planner? Oh, we're supposed to talk about the coolest thing I've made. That's gonna be fun. And that's going to be a regular segment, by the way. I've got a couple of things that I've made that I actually really like. Enough to, like, go out of my way to say that. There's some things that I'm like, oh, this is cool, this is neat, you know, whatever. And, but there's every now and then something that, like, no, this is fucking banging. Like it. So, yeah. Until then, I hope that you have a wonderful evening and that this was entertaining for you. And I will see you bright-eyed and bushy-tailed on the morrow, maybe. I might actually record this video early. I don't know. We'll see. Bye!